to be, they say anytime in a game, if you can score on defense or special teams, your chances of winning go up exponentially. And to be able to have a defensive touchdown in every game is incredible.
Hey, we've heard it since the time we started watching football, when we're 6, 7, 8 years old. Howard Cosell from starting Monday Night Football, defense wins championships.
I wasn't alive then. But...
Well, hey, you've seen the YouTube clips, right? I'll send you some. Boedeker, when I was growing up, there's only 4 channels. That's hard to believe for the millennials that might be tuning in here. 4 channels. I learned Coach Henigan remembers that or not. But ABC, NBC, CBS, and public PBS, television. That was it. Yeah. Fox wasn't around, so they had the audience on Monday night. That was the show.
A big deal. Now it's Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football is kind of the afterthought. But
yeah, I didn't quite get my schoolwork done on Monday night. I would tune into Monday Night Football. So
I did too.
Sorry,
I wasn't there. I wasn't around when Howard Cosell was doing it. But
all right, I hear you.
Sorry to remind you.
That's all right. It's the good old days, man. Sometimes we like the good old days. Sometimes we don't like to remember the good old days, right? So, hey, we'll kind of reset the show, and we'll bring up Coach Dave Henigan here next. So you guys stay tuned. And reminder, we are going to be at Verse Grill and Tavern. Let me bring that up on Saturday, November 3rd. Boedeker, you love their food too. I know you're a foodie. You're the foodie of the show, no doubt.
I do love.
I love going down there too. I've been there several times. Shoal Creek as well.
I went to Shoal Creek last night. I meant to tell you that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Well, we're going to bring up Coach Dave Henigan right now on the screen. I've got Coach. Can you hear us?
I can.
Coach Dave Henigan. That's the voice of the Denton Ryan Raiders head coach. I've got on the screen, Coach. Pretty awesome. You can probably see that right there. Your team coming out of the at pregame, breaking through, coming out of the tunnel. And I love that. And I see you on Twitter a lot. # Home of Champions. That's been pretty special what you've done there at Denton Ryan since you took over.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of great players, and we have a good coaching staff, and certainly that thing's been rolling long before I got there, and we'll be rolling long after I'm gone, hopefully. And so, like I said, we've had a lot of really good players over the last several years, and have had a pretty good little run, and trying to keep it going.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. Like we talked earlier, it's I don't know, was it like 58 degrees outside and rainy?
Yeah, it was nasty out there tonight, man. We had a JV game out there at 5:30, only one tonight, luckily.
Ugh.
So, and we ended up having to run the clock, which was not too bad. At
least you're in the press box, yeah.
No, I was on the field, actually. I gutted it out. I actually held the down box for a little while because our guy didn't show up. So
wow, look at you, master of all.
Now, you can validate this. During the football season, you and your staff work on average, 15, 16-hour days? Is that right?
It depends what day it is. Mondays, typically we're there by 6:30, and, you leave a junior high game around 9:30. Same on Tuesday. Wednesday, get there a little bit earlier probably. And we started something new in the morning, or this year, where we practice in the morning on Wednesday, and we let them go at the end of the period. So we actually get to go home a little earlier and see our families, or if our coaches want to go to church or whatever on Wednesdays. And then, of course, Thursdays is sub-varsity.
That's awesome. Hey, we're going to bring in Adam Boedeker. He's somewhere in Denton County. Through the miracle of technology, we're going to pipe him in here. Hey, Adam, can you hear us?
I can't. I'm not quite sure. The technology isn't working well enough.
I think it's working because Newspaper Steve would have chimed in by now and said, hey, I can't hear you, or there's an echo or something. So,
yeah. Well, I wanted to start by talking about Thursday's win. And, first of all, what's it been like for you to get this division split and kind of in 5A and kind of change the landscape of who you're playing? It was kind of the same old for years. Is it kind of fun or nice as a coach to see some new teams and be able to scheme against different coaches, different teams? Or
it is. I mean, it's we had a couple years there where you're playing against certain teams, and now I think the top half of our district is more competitive than it's been. I think that's going to help us in the long run. We had a good game. We ended up winning by a couple touchdowns, but against Colleyville Heritage a couple weeks ago, where we got exposed a little bit.
Right.
And the last couple of years, we didn't get exposed much until we got to the semifinals.
Right.
And so I think that's going to be good for us in the long run. And playing those
tested
types
early
of teams
is always good.
Well, yeah, and we've been tested in non-district every year.
Right.
But it's good to get that test too. And we're going to get a couple more here with. In the next couple of weeks, I think Birdville's still undefeated, and Grapevine, I think, has only lost one game. And so, it's good. It's good to get when you look at the playoff road, honestly, it doesn't really change much.
Right.
It looks like we're going to end up playing a similar type path in Region 1 because it's, last year and the year before we ended up playing some teams that are going to probably be there again.
Yeah.
So that piece didn't change that much.
You mentioned playing teams like Colleyville Heritage, Birdville, Grapevine, and something that you haven't had in recent years. Well, you also have to play, I don't know any other way to say it, you have to play the bottom half of the district too. And those games have been blowouts like you would expect. But, does it say something about your team when you can go out and win games like that the way that you're supposed to, I guess?
I think it does. I think, we have a mature program, mature kids, mature coaching staff. We don't look past people. We don't look too far ahead. And it's cliche and I get it, but we go to work and it doesn't matter who our opponent is that week. We go to practice and we try to get better. And we try to fine tune the details that we know we're going to need in December to win games that we need to win. And so, yes, to answer your question, I think that shows that you respect everyone you play and you go out and you take care of your business. And we challenge our kids too. We challenge their selflessness and so to speak, in that look, your job as a starter against a team like, say, whoever we play, Newman Smith or whatever, your job is to go and to end it as fast as you can, because that guy that's worked his tail off next to you all year long and doesn't get to play, he deserves the opportunity to play, and it's your job to go make sure that it happens. And so our kids, I think, accept that challenge in starting fast.
I love that approach
against teams that we feel like we should, beat.
This year has been different for you. Getting to coach two of your sons. I know that's probably been special for you, and both of them are play a high profile position as quarterback. And I know that's kind of your background too. I mean, has it been special for you to be able to coach Ian and Seth this year?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's they're both really in a position you can't win. You're replacing a 4-year starter, the Gatorade Player of the Year, the AP Player, the Texas Player of the Year, and on and on and on. And so I don't envy that position because you can't replace that guy. But it's been a lot of fun coaching both of them, being around both of them. One of them's won 3 games as a starter. The other one's won 4 games as a starter after an injury. And so, I mean, it's been great to be around both of them and watch them grow and both as players and just being around them, on a day-to-day basis. It's pretty special.
Coach, we talked to a lot of coaches that have coached their sons in the past. Is it hard to separate the time from coach versus dad?
For me, it's not. It's easy. I mean, I've never coached my kids my whole life in anything their whole life in anything they've ever done. I mean, I will coach them in the backyard and we'll coach them on the basketball court, if we're playing one-on-one or whatever. But as far as coaching their team, I've never done that. So it's real easy for me to separate it. When we go home, we might talk for a little bit about, hey, or whatever. My wife might say, good game or this, that, but it's really, once we get there, that's over. There's not the only time it ever comes up is if they bring it up.
Right.
I don't ever bring it up. It's because there's just a fine line there that I don't ever want to cross as a dad.
Right.
Because you don't ever want, their value to be seen as a football player, because it's not.
Right. How do you think Seth has responded to being thrown in the fire after Ian got hurt and being a sophomore and, kind of just being thrown into that varsity fire?
Seth has done great. I mean, he's got ice water in his veins, to be honest with you. I mean, he rolled in the second half of the West Mesquite game after Ian separated his shoulder, and he goes into the Denton High game, big rivalry game, big crowd, and second drive of the game throws a 60-something yard bomb on the money to get us down to the 3-yard line, and only threw, I think, 3 or 4 incompletions in that game. And in the 4 games he started since, I think he only has about 10 incompletions. So he's done really well. He's he's been ready for that his whole life. I mean, he's played at a high level for his whole life.
Right. Speaking of your quarterbacks, and you already kind of brought it up, it's unavoidable to talk about Spencer and losing him and losing all those weapons you had last year. You obviously had to transform your offensive identity a little bit, losing all those guys, but it seems like you really haven't missed a beat offensively. I mean, what do you think has gone into that, and what's that a testament to?
Well, I think a lot of people assume just because we lost a bunch of really good players that we couldn't, we couldn't replicate that, and we haven't really replicated because we've evolved. I mean, I think that a good coaching staff tweaks what you do according to the strengths of your personnel, and we lost Spencer, and yes, we lost Gabe, and yes, we lost Howsky, and that's very apparent. Okay, but what people forgot is we had Imani back, and we had an up and coming Kiori Hicks coming back, and we had Billy Bowman coming back, and we had Jamarian Robertson, who had 1,100 yards receiving, coming back.
A lot of depth in the program.
And we had Drew Sanders show up, and we had, people didn't necessarily recognize that. And truth be known, it wasn't easy. The key, one of the keys was we had 4 offensive linemen that were brand new. Mm-hmm. See, everybody knows the quarterback's gone, but not everybody knows that 4 offensive linemen are brand new. And you talked about this, but Geyer went through a little bit of this. They were young up front too.
Yeah,
at the beginning.
Had 5, I think.
They've kind of hit their stride. And for us, for the first couple of weeks, we played a 7-1 Mesquite Poteet team, and Fossil Ridge, who's a 6A playoff team. Mm-hmm. And everyone's going, well, what's wrong with the offense? Well, we got a bunch of new starters, and we're playing good teams. And
takes a while to gel.
And we still found a way to win, though.
Right.
And what you've seen over the last 4 or 5 weeks, though, is those guys have really gelled, and we've figured out who we are, and who we are is a team that plays great defense, that has won the kicking game every week we've played, that runs the football really well, and is opportunistic in the passing game. And there's been a lot of football won from the NFL down to Pee Wee with that mode.
Right. So, you just brought it up. As great as your offense has been in recent years, I mean, Ryan is, I read Steve's story today, and Coach Tollison was talking about how Ryan's always been known for its great defense, and this year has just been spectacular. I've never seen anything like that as far as making plays defensively, scoring touchdowns. I mean, that doesn't happen. You don't see teams scoring 9 defensive scores in 7 games. I mean, that's incredible. Have you ever seen anything like that? Or what's that do for momentum and just confidence in the flow of a game when your defense brings back a fumble return?
Yeah. Well, it's huge. I mean, obviously, you said it, whatever the percentage is, but when you score on defense, you win a lot more than you don't. Mm-hmm. Just huge momentum shifts, and that's not including all the turnovers that they've had where they haven't scored. And so it's a testament to our kids. They play very hard. Our coaching staff on the defensive side, starting with Coach Tollison, they do a great job of getting our kids motivated and getting them lined up and not cluttering their mind. We have a saying around there, it's paralysis by analysis. Make sure we don't do that. Make it simple enough where we line up and we can use our speed to our advantage. And we get a lot of population around the football. When you have population around the football, good things happen. Now, I will say this, in 2002, we scored a lot on defense. Yeah. I don't remember how many, but we were playing with Jarvis Moss, who played in the NFL, right. Derek Loki, who played in the NFL, Xavier Kelly was a Division I player, Ishiata Wigo was you can go on and on and on. In the 03.
Was it Brian Williams? Was he on those teams too, the Missouri guy?
Brian Smith. He was on the 01 state title team and the 2000 state finals team.
Okay.
So there's been some pretty special defenses over the years. The 2010, I wasn't there, the 2010 team, and with Mario Edwards and Alex De La Torre and those guys. Yeah. And so, it's hard to compare, but yeah, it's pretty unique to have that many scores on defense, without a doubt.
Yeah. You don't see that very often. I've never seen it, and I was curious if you ever had, but next, you mentioned the kicking game, and I have to bring it up because he's a family friend. But how awesome is Riley Nuzzo?
He's done a great job. He's really talented. When I was at Grapevine, I had 2 Division I kickers, Alex Mueller and Nick Grau, and the ball sounds different when it comes off their foot. It just sounds different. And Riley has that sound. I mean, when it's huge because, we've been talking about playing defense, and when you're playing defense and you're playing kind of the way we are, one of the things that's key to winning is field position. And Riley is consistently putting the ball, in what we call the coffin corner, which is in the